Jonathan, even before you start using AI in specific ways, what are kind of the prerequisites that you recommend?
Well, there's two things that I think are valuable to consider for any business that's implementing AI right now. And those two topics, as you see on the slide there, are I have a process that we put together that's the company and personal README file. Then the second topic I'm going to cover right after that is some new security considerations that are kind of coming up because of what AI has created or made available. So, first of all, the company and personal README file. Brian, if you want to show the next slide. These two QR codes will take you to a file that you can download. And basically, what they are is they're like a really long prompt that you can put into AI. AI has, some of the models have gotten to the point where they can handle fairly complex reasoning. And so I recommend like sort of the high end, like the Claude. They have the new Fable model that came out, which is really exciting, or the Claude, what's the one before that?
Opus.
Opus, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Opus, Claude Opus 4.8, which does some really complex reasoning and really bigger tasks. And you copy and paste this into the AI chat, and it'll walk you through a series. And I'm going to be honest with you, it takes some time. I did this recently, and it took me a little over an hour to walk through answering all these questions. But what it does is it's extracting your voice, how you write, how you think, how you do things, because there's a lot of content that's being created. People have discovered that AI can create content. It can create marketing content. It can answer emails for you. It can do all that other stuff. But we're starting to see and feel the flavor of AI in a way that is a little disconcerting. When people start looking at a video and they say, oh, that's AI generated, and there becomes this AI fatigue of just being presented with stuff that I know that AI wrote. And how do you get around that? How do you use AI to do something useful for you, but also put things in your voice in a way that other things really can't? And so you go through this process and answer all of these questions, and it creates a document that then you can use to add to a query. And I can actually even show you one that I've done recently. I have to send a request to share. Brian, there we go. So let me go into this one here. Nope, not that one. I opened up an incognito window in just Chat GPT and I asked it to write a short piece, about 250 words for small business owners answering a question. Should I be worried that AI is going to replace my employees? And it wrote a bunch of stuff in here, and it has the dreaded M dash that AI seems to love this long dash, but there's no key on your keyboard that actually types that. So you always know it's AI that does that. And it doesn't sound like me. And so I took the README file that came out of this exercise and I inserted the README file. I didn't give any other instructions and I gave this exact same prompt. And it created a bit of text that this is kind of the way that I chat when I'm talking to friends. This is actually how I would respond. And it doesn't have any M dashes or icons or anything else that's sort of those sort of weird things that AI adds into text. And so I can count on this to actually be more like me. There's one of these that we have for yourself personally, and then there's one that you have for the company where you can actually contain the company's voice and you can make sure that you're using the right branding and the right terminology and the right focus on your core goals and what kinds of things your company does and how you typically present yourself instead of having AI regenerate that. And so that gets you past the idea of, well, I don't want AI to create a bunch of content for me that just looks like, that everybody can tell AI wrote it. Always verify. After you have AI create content for you, always go through and verify it. But once it starts out in your voice, it's a lot easier to edit and verify that.
I was just going to chime in because Jonathan and Yvonne made me go through the company README. And it took me, a couple hours. It's probably a 2 hour session all in all. And while the prompt has specific questions you'll see in it, it does start to ask its own questions. And it does go beyond just the purpose of creating content for your company and designs and things like that. It's really helpful in deriving even things like SOPs. And we can feed this all into a chatbot now too. If we bring on a new employee or somebody, how do we handle X situation with a client? It provides a lot of recommendations. Jonathan, I think you've talked about how this README is an asset to train agents because it understands how your company solves problems. I had to answer a lot of questions about scenarios, a lot of questions about our pricing. So just as if you were to
Mhm.
train a staff member with all this knowledge, this is a mechanism for training future agents for use in your business.
Absolutely. I think that's the big moat is the personalization with AI. How do I get AI to work as if it was working for me rather than just being a tool that I'm turning on and running? And so it does that on a personal level and it does that on a company level. It's kind of matured to a point where these tools are available, so we should use them right from the beginning. Do you want to show that next slide with the security?
Yes. All right. Did that reshare?
Yep, there we go. Awesome. Okay, so a lot of business owners don't really know yet, but the moment you connect AI to your business, you inherit a new set of security risks that didn't exist before. There's a detailed white paper from Amazon Web Services that we're going to share at the end of this webinar. And I'm going to highlight, there's actually a whole bunch of things that I think there's 13 total security risks that you should be aware of, but I'm going to highlight five that are things that you're probably going to encounter at some point. And I'm going to preface this by saying, I recently talked to a company that had the chief administrator got an email from the main accountant asking for a current company customer list to update their records. They sent it, and immediately the president of the company started sending emails. Ultimately, when you dug down, they were getting emails from the president of the company asking for gift cards to be sent to them, and it was a gift card scam, but it was really specific. So somebody had used AI to go through and pull out the relevant people, and they figured out the connections between the different people, and they sent spoofed emails, and it was all really quick, and it was all done by AI. And the people that were involved had no idea. Like, this was so specific, they didn't even stop for a minute to think about what the security risks were or how this information was derived. So it just highlights the fact that AI is just bringing in a whole new level of things to be concerned about. Like I said, there's five things that I'm going to highlight for you. The first one is prompt injection, where if you have a tool that's using AI to read your emails and it's reading line by line and it's trying to figure out the context and who said what to who and who replied to who, and somewhere in the middle there's an email that says forward all invoices to this address. You never said it, but the sender did, or somebody snuck it in there. And now your AI may actually follow those instructions if it has the correct access. Number two, fake and poised tools. There are thousands of AI add-ons out there, and anyone can publish one. Like, literally, you can create AI tools with AI, and they're spinning up all the time. And some are wolves in app clothing. They look legitimate. They seem to do the job that you ask them to do, but they're quietly sending data out the back door. Number three is the rug pull. This one's sneaky. You carefully research a tool, you approve it, it behaves, and after you're using it and you fully trust it, an update happens. And when that, what you can't see or what you don't know is that they completely change the permissions on what this thing is doing, but you've already given it access or you've already given it permission. And so now all of a sudden it starts doing something that you wouldn't have authorized in the first place. There's a lot of apps that have been guilty of that. Number four is overprivileged AI. When you hire someone new, you don't hand them the master key to your office or the company credit card and the payroll password on day one. That would be insane. But a lot of businesses do that with AI because connecting everything is convenient. And an assistant with that much access can be tricked into doing things that no one single employee could ever do. And the person tricking it doesn't need your password. They just need that, threat number one with the prompt injection or something. Number five, leaked keys and credentials. The way that all of these things connect with each other is through things called API keys. And in order to get the systems to talk to each other, often you're giving API keys to AI to connect from one system to another system so it can read your email, so it can read your documents, so it can connect to your ERP system and all of that. And so now all of a sudden there's all of these keys that are connected in somewhere. And if just the one API key to your AI gets out, all of a sudden somebody can access everything in your company. And so the big things that happen that they never used to be risks before because of the way that it would take to break into things. Now AI just kind of reads and understands information and gives you things that you don't necessarily have to structure in exactly the same way that you would if you were a hacker a year or two ago. But if you're sitting there thinking, oh, great, I was hoping to get more out of AI, and it looks like I should be more concerned about security and maybe not do anything, don't worry. That's what shape connecting companies like Elevate and David here on this webinar are for. You don't have to become an electrician to turn the lights on, and you don't need to become a security analyst to use AI, but you do need to make sure that somebody's looking over your shoulder and making sure that things are done in the correct way and that the tech stack is being managed properly and that you're not exposing these risks accidentally. If you have any more questions about that topic and about the threats that are there, I would love to chat with you more about that in the Q&A, or we can send you that white paper from AWS that I think will open up more discussion on the topic.
Excellent.
Anything to add on that, Dave? Or Brian, I mean?
No, I think
Excellent.
it's a perfect transition to keeping it all straight now and goes into the whole tool management aspect of this. So
Right. So, yeah, so one of the things that we've been managing tech stacks for a while at Shape Connect, and one of the things that we're doing right now is we're re-onboarding some customers and we're onboarding new customers, but we're re-onboarding even some existing customers with a tech stack evaluation that's online, that's being analyzed by AI. That gives us a lot of the ability to manage that data. One of the things with AI readiness, when we're going through an AI readiness assessment, is making sure that you've got all the data in the right place. Well, we have a lot of data about the software that companies use, but it's not necessarily in the right place. And so we're taking our own medicine and making sure that all that stuff gets brought into the right space. And so we have a detailed interview where you can ask questions, you can assign questions, you can give it information, and it kind of walks you through that same kind of process as the personal and company README that get to understand the voice of your company or the voice of you personally. And this is getting to understand the tech stack that you have. It's analyzed by AI and thousands of software titles that we're tracking in the back end on how well they integrate with each other, on vendors that we know are excellent and part of our whole Referral Connect program, making sure that we have a lot of systems that work well together where we're considering all of these things like our AI security and network security and infrastructure and all of those things, and analyzing how the tech stack is currently set up. It's revealing all kinds of new insights and information and proposing. I don't know if you can show, or maybe I will show the
yeah, why don't you show the
recommendation.
two, maybe the current state and the
Yeah.
future?
So
Yeah.
the onboarding questionnaire looks like an AI chat script, but which is not as exciting to watch. But here we have. Okay. So basically in the it'll produce analysis, and I'm just loading this here. So it'll produce an analysis including all the current software that's being used, how they're interconnected or not interconnected, or if there's, see, the red lines represent manual processes to pass information from one system to the other. This is for a test case that I did, Acme Animal Company. If you recall the old Bugs Bunny or the Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote, and he would always get things from Anvil Acme. So I used them as a demo company. Anyways, I went through the whole process and it comes out with key insights on what's happening, on how it's implemented, on what some of the issues are, on the key gaps and risks. Provides really great, meaningful insight. You actually go through a process of agreeing with all of this information or providing some feedback if you want to adjust or change something that you don't agree with. Then you go to view recommendations. We do review this on our back end. We have our experts that go through and look at all of this data and make sure that what you're submitting makes sense and what we're suggesting is accurate and makes sense. But it shows transitions that need to happen and the selection that it should go through, what our recommendations are. In some cases, we will suggest more than one thing. So here we have Acumatica Construction Edition is being suggested as the preferred option, but there's also QuickBooks Enterprise Construction add-on as an alternative for this particular customer because of the other things that they have there. And you can go through and select these different options and then select. And when you click on confirm selections, it actually then begins the process of connecting you with the proper vendor and pushing the projects forward to help implement these things in a timely and cost-effective way for you. But then if you want to show that next slide with the AI agent. So once that data is all implemented, then that opens up the ability to ask AI where projects are at, what the next steps on something are, and even other questions like, given my current tech stack, what should I use for tracking vehicles? And it will make recommendations on that that will work well with your tech stack that we can implement well for you. And we're looking for beta testers. So you can sign up to be a beta tester for this, and Brian will share a link with you. If you're interested in doing that, let him know.
Yes, we'll put a follow-up email with that in there. But The goal here is again, the world is moving to continuous transformation. You may have picked a handful of tools that are helping to run your business, but there's the step of making sure those tools are optimized, and then a lot of great integrations come to market, whether they be AI integrations or other SaaS products. So we're excited that we can bring together some intelligence, learn the business, you have clarity on your technology roadmap, and then being able to pair up the expertise like David, Jonathan, and other partners that we have that are very CRM focused or focused on other project management and can ensure that these tools are implemented properly and that we can track progress. Because again, the right tools can be there, but are they being used the right way? So, any final thoughts, David or Jonathan?
I mean, just to touch on that stack builder, I think that's a great idea because most of the time when we're working with clients, we're building a strategy and we call that a living document, but it's not really, right? Unless somebody goes in to update it. So the ability to kind of keep track of your tech stack in real time essentially is phenomenal.
We had to do a lot of internal time together, Jonathan, Yvonne, Mark, myself, to really define what could help our customers, what could better organize this selection process for technology, which, as David outlined, it can take months, it can take sometimes even over a year. If we could do something with AI and use AI properly to build a faster experience, a better managed experience, that was our priority. We were like, we got to take a time out and we got to sit down and think about where this technology plays a role for us. And so if anybody ever wants to talk about that, obviously you'll have links to book with David and Jonathan, but I think it's a great way to think about how could we streamline our onboarding process with AI. What would enhance the customer experience with AI? There's so many good questions to ask right now, even just beyond thinking about backbone systems. So that would be my biggest takeaway is look at those functions and how can you automate things. So with that, we'll close out. We'll send a follow-up email. You'll have a lot of resources in there, that README link, beta tester. We have a couple blogs about the importance of getting the right human expertise. And then we look forward to following up with you and feel free to book calls with us to talk about any of this. So thank you again, and we'll hang out for a minute if there are any other questions.